Welcome back, everybody, to the weekend show where I'll be breaking down the big and mega cap stocks. So, before we get started, please hit that like button, and that is greatly appreciated. And if you're new here, definitely consider subscribing. Now, if you want to go above and beyond, get all types of daily trade ideas, swing trade ideas, live trading, definitely head over to Patreon, and that link will be down below in the description for you guys. And with that, a lot of volatility happening in the market, this is the right time to make a lot of money. So check that out. And now let's get right into the market. All right, so welcome back once again, guys. Now, a lot of people are extremely bearish right now in the market. You can see right here the new sentiment 46.4% are bearish here in this market. Now, on top of that, we're in extreme fear. People are running for the door. We do have some data next week. We got pending home sales, but I think PPI and especially FOMC, that's going to take place Wednesday, and a lot of people are waiting for that, including the market. Now, what market did on Friday, you can see Dow was down 0.26%, Nasdaq down nearly 1%, S&P down 0.61%, Russell going down 0.33%, advancing 36%, declining almost 60% on the day. Now, a lot of chaos happening in the market right now. And look at this, especially when you look at 11 sectors, utilities led the way on top, consumer defensive, energy. So it's definitely a risk off move. For the week, also energy led the way up 2.26%. And then you have utilities, consumer defensive, everything else in a deep red. Now, stock market map, what do we have here? We got some earnings, especially AMU this week. We'll see how that goes. It was up 5%, but Nvidia down, Broadcom down over 4%, Apple down 2.21%, and I think it was down even more. Microsoft down 1.57%, Amazon down 0.89%, Tesla down almost 1%, Meta down nearly 4%. So a lot of red, especially when you look at Mag 7. But then when you look at on the other side, especially energy utilities, those are lighting up in the green. Also consumer defensive. On Apple, stock is down 2.21%. So Apple just recently, back to back 2 days since the gap down on Thursday's session, we were not able to go back up and fill that gap. It looks like we might be filling this gap early as tomorrow morning, 249.41, before we saw that massive rally to the upside. So Apple also getting a bit oversold here, trading underneath the Bollinger Band. Typically, when you see these types of moves on a big name like Apple, usually you see some sort of a retracement, a bounce from here. So that could happen early as this week. So watch out for that 249, 250 as a support. If that gives up, it could be coming all the way down to 242. To the upside, there will be resistance at 257, and then we have a gap at 259. If we can get past these levels, we could be heading up to 261.7 and then 265. On Microsoft is down 1.57%, so another down day on Microsoft. But if you look at my screen, I mean, this could be a nice head and shoulder pattern. You can see the head, left shoulder, and the right shoulder forming. And if this is going to play out, we need to stay especially over 395 to 389 for this to play out and possibly a big move to the upside. I think, unless things are gonna get really worse here in the market, especially with what's happening in Middle East, we did put in a bottom, a short-term bottom here on Microsoft, and I think we can head higher if this can hold even after gap fill reversal. As long as we can hold over that and we do not come down and take out this low, I think this inverse head and shoulder can play out, and we could see more upside here on Microsoft. So watch out that 395 has to hold. Other than that, if it breaks below that 389, the gap fill reversal, underneath that we could be retesting 381 to the upside. Now we need to get over 400. If that happens, we also need to take out 406. Over that, you're going to see continuation to the upside, and whenever that happens, we can talk about it. Right now it's below 400, so let's see if we can actually get over 400 come tomorrow morning here on Microsoft. On Tesla, stock is down 0.96%. So Tesla had that initial bounce, had that breakout, but you can see we came back in and now trading at lower Bollinger Band. That 390 is the key level. Underneath that, we could be retesting 380, possibly into 375 and lower. If it goes, close the gap at 368.9. To the upside, there will be resistance at 398. Over that, you're going to see a push up to 405. If we can break over this 20-day moving average, we can hold, then watch out for continuation up to 420 into 432. On Amazon, stock is down 0.89%, and Amazon closing right at the support 207 and bottom of this bear flag channel, you can see. But if that gives up, we could see Amazon going towards that 199 to 200, and underneath that, all the way down to 187, and there is a gap below that. Now, if we get some sort of a move here to the upside, watch out for the resistance at 211.6 over that 215. If we can stay over 215, you're going to see more upside, possibly into 220 and then 223 into this gap, 231.82 on Amazon. On Google, stock is down 0.58%. So Google had that nice bounce here, but you can see it faded immediately, and now we're back down to 300. 300 gives up. We could be coming down to 292 again, and this is going to be a key zone right here. You can see multiple rejection, and then finally we had that breakout to the upside to a new all-time high, and now that we're pulling back, 292 has to hold. If not, we could be coming and going lower, down to like 276 into 280. To the upside, there will be resistance at especially this 306 mark because of this 20-day. If we can cross that, which you can see even Friday and Thursday got rejection there. If we can cross that, it can possibly go up to 310 to 314, and then we can talk about more upside on Google stock. On Meta, it's down 3.83%. So this is actually the hourly time frame, and you can see Meta what happened, especially on Friday's session. It actually came down here, and we actually took a day trade right here on Meta, and it was fantastic. I think it was more than $10 bounce we caught, and I sold right here, right about here when we were hitting the trend line, and then it came back again, and now we are below the trend line with a gap above, which is at 636. So basically, if you look at this weekly time frame, we're actually breaking this trend line. Now sometimes you get these type of moves where you see like look below and fail. That could be a possibility, but things are not looking good for Meta. As long as this thing remains under, especially if you look at my screen, 628, that is not bullish. And especially when you look at it, we even broke that 614, and now we could be going towards that 600. So Meta, if this thing somehow gets a bounce, watch out for that 628 to break, possibly going into the gap right here at 636 into the resistance at 638, and then we can talk about more upside. Now if this thing remains below this trend line, which is trading also below the lower Bollinger Band, so getting really frothy to the downside, if this thing remains below 628, I would be watching 600 as a key support on Meta. On AMD, it's down 2.20%. So AMD is all over the place. We had a gap down on Thursday. We're not able to fill the gap up, and now we're pulling back even more. So keep an eye on this lower Bollinger Band and bottom of this range right here, 190 to 189. If that gives up, we could be coming down and closing some of that gap right here, which is at 170 all the way down here. So that means what? We have about $23 to the downside if this gap is going to get filled. Now, so far, every time this thing comes down, we get a bounce. So is this time different? We might not get that bounce. Possible, but also keep that in mind. Closer to the Bollinger Band, I would expect some sort of a bounce. Maybe fill this gap just over 200. That could be a possibility on AMD. So if this thing comes down to 190 or below, I would think maybe put a little bit of tight stop loss here and play this back up to the upside as long as the stop does not get hit, especially when it comes to day trading. I think we can play this back up to the gap 203.63, and if we can hold over the gap, then this gap comes into play, which is at 210. On Nvidia, stock is down 1.58%. So people that are extremely bearish here in this market, one thing I want to point out, yes, a lot of things happening, especially around the world. But look at Nvidia. I'm just chilling here at 180. It's not like Nvidia down to 160. That's when I'll be like, okay, things are getting really bad. Nvidia down to 160. That's a big dip, and market probably gonna go and we see some sort of a 25-30% correction, but that's not taking place. All that's happening, that is short term. And I think especially when we have especially a president that actually chickens out with the tariff, and now that a tariff definitely thrown out, and especially with this new war, there is a lot of pressure mounting to stop the war, because of what's happening with people around the world. They're not getting enough gasoline, they're not getting natural gas. And you can go and look at some part of South Asia, especially when it comes to natural gas. People are crying for it, guys. And in India, because what Modi's government have done, they actually they were supposed to stay neutral on this matter, but then he picked a side, and now getting that punishment. And who's taking the punishment? Not the rich people, not the minister. Who's taking the punishment? The normal people, poor people. They cannot afford the gas, and there is a massive line. And I don't think it's only in India. Most of the countries in South Asia, a lot of the countries in Europe. So everybody is suffering for that war, and people are just, some people are just, I don't know what they think. It's not about who's hitting who. It's about the right thing, and the right thing here is get that Strait of Hormuz opened up and get that oil and gas flow again. Otherwise, things are not gonna be going smooth for a lot of countries, a lot of people, and especially people that are poor. And that's who I actually care about, because if these people cannot afford to cook food, and they cannot put food on the table because of higher gasoline and higher prices of energy, I mean that's going to be a disaster. And that's going to catch up to Trump, because if US is feeling the pressure, everybody is going to feel the pressure. And it's already mounting on a lot of these people that we have Strait of Hormuz closed, and we're not getting a lot of flow out of there. So I think some sort of a resolution will come. When, I don't know, especially knowing Trump for the last couple of months with the tariff, going back and forth. And then Greenland, what happened? We didn't take over Greenland, right? So I think this war, it might be short term, and I think there is going to be some sort of a resolution, whether we just destroyed completely Iran, which I don't think that's the case. It's not easy as you think. What happened to Iraq? Did we just destroy immediately? No, it took how many years? And even after that, we ran away from Iraq and Afghanistan, right? So it's not easy as you think. Like, oh, yes, we have the best military here, but it does not mean that we're just gonna go and just grab anything we want. It's not easy as some people think. So a lot of pressure, and I think because of that pressure, there is gonna be some sort of a deal, some sort of a negotiation, some ceasefire. But the thing is, when that is going to happen, and I think Nvidia is signaling that, especially when it comes to the chart, because Nvidia is not definitely going down. We did not even break down from these lows. It's just hanging in there, just chilling at 180. Even if it comes down to 170, I would say, I mean, it's still fine. It's not like 160, 150. That's when I would be like, okay, something is really wrong. So we'll see how that goes into the week. Next week, we have FOMC and all that. We'll see what J. Powell has to say. But as of right now, NVIDIA 180, 178 holds up. We could see a bounce back up to 184 into even 189. If this thing comes down to 175 into the lower band, definitely, as long as it's actually holding here, I might be buying that dip. And NVIDIA, I don't think the last trade, when was the last trade that I actually took a loss on NVIDIA? It's been really awesome. We bought this dip, rallied. We bought this dip, rallied. And now, if it's coming back, we would be looking to buy that dip on Nvidia, especially when this stock is this strong and just consolidating. So this is just a stock where just consolidating for multiple weeks, multiple months. As long as this thing remains over 170, I don't think it's gonna come down here. And you can easily get out here, but as long as we can stay over 170, we can go top end of this range, which is like 190, 195. We can come back to the bottom. You buy, you sell, you sell, you buy. That's all you do on Nvidia until something breaks, whether to the upside if it breaks 195, or to the downside if it breaks 170. And I hope that makes sense to you guys. So Netflix was up 1%. So this thing is holding up, guys. 190 $94 holding, and you can see now we're getting a nice bounce. So just wait and see if at 94 can hold. We could see a bounce back up to 97.3 into 100 and possibly even higher. If it breaks below 94, then watch out for 91.7. On Broadcom, it's down over 4%, and this one took a massive hit. And you can see we closed right on that 200 SMA, which is at 320, 322. So if this one does not hold here, this could be a fake breakout of this downtrend, and we could be coming back again down to possibly 307. As long as you can stay here, watch out for some sort of a bounce back up to 330. If we can break that, watch out for the top end to get retested, which is going to be around 356. And that's all I have for you guys in this video. Thank you so much for watching.